Let's go. Are we actually on? You're here listening with Kayla
and Georgia,
bringing you real, raw and relatable chats on the Evolve to Thrive podcast.
Stay tuned because shit's about to get juicy as we dive into all things health, fitness, life and relationships.
Let's go. Woo. Ladies, before we get into today's episode, I'd like to mention that I am running a 10-week case study program. This means I am looking for women who are specifically working towards body recomposition goals. This means you are committed to losing 4 to 8 kilos of body fat in 10 weeks and are capable of getting to the gym 3 to 4 times per week for strength and muscle building goals. If you are ready to go from fit to strong and master the art of macro tracking so that you can achieve results whilst enjoying the foods you love, then DM me Evolve on Instagram at likeagirlfitness_ and I will see whether in fact this program is for you. Alternatively, head to www.likeagirlfitness.com.au. Just letting you know, we are starting on the 22nd of April and I only have 10 spots left. So be sure to reach out to me on Instagram. All right. Hey, everyone. Today I have my coach, Belinda Croxford. She's joining us again for a second episode. And this one is particularly going to be allocated and dedicated to gut health, common digestive issues, and the significance of your internal health. Because at the end of the day, this is an area that Bel has a huge area of expertise in. So we're going to be talking about the common issues that most women face when it comes to their gut health, their digestive health, IBS, hormonal imbalances, and pretty much a little bit on blood work and getting your blood work done too. So all these underlying issues we're going to get right into today. And I know that this is actually going to be a really, really informative and educational episode. And that's exactly why I got her on, because she is literally an expert in this. So thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Now talk to me firstly. How's your day been? What have you been doing? A day of check-ins?
A day of check-ins, training. I had a sauna, which was amazing. Haven't had one of those in a while.
Where do you go for your sauna?
My gym, Al's gym.
Oh yeah, so they do have a sauna there too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about we need to touch on your glute injury before we do get into this. How is your recovery going?
We're getting there. I'm still training. Like if people saw me training, it's a bit embarrassing, but I've let go of my ego completely.
Yeah.
But yeah, the glute tear is healed, which is great. I'm still just, a bit imbalanced. Like my pelvis is still quite rotated from being injured. Obviously your body wants to compensate for that pain. My spine is all good. I don't get any spine pain.
Yay.
So I'm not in pain.
You can sit now.
I can sit.
Oh my God, I remember when we were like in the Gold Coast and you literally couldn't sit down.
My God, I was in so much pain. I was on so many pain meds then too, which obviously hurt my brain doing that.
We need to get you on for an episode on that alone, I reckon, because that's been an absolute ride and journey.
It has, but I've got great people behind me helping me through it. So yeah, I'm very very fortunate for that.
Yay, so I'm glad. I'm finally glad you're on the mend.
Thank you, babe.
Well, what we always do now, Bel actually came on the pod for episode 8. Now, if you want to know all things about just Bel in general, her story, who she is, what she does, which let's be real, most of you know already. But if you do want to go back to that and more of an episode on bodybuilding, because that's obviously Bel's area of specialty, then go back and listen to episode 8. But this one, again, we are going to devote it specifically to women's health and all the internal issues that go on. So before we do get into that, I need to know, what are you craving, or are you going to give a recommendation of the week? This is segment 2 that we always do before we get into it.
Well, I'll give you a craving, and that would definitely be an Oxystrad can right now, even though it's 7:30.
I know. Are you feeling tired, or you want the sweetness?
Oh, a bit of both, But this will wake me up talking about this sort of stuff.
It'll get you going.
It will.
Do you know what I have a tip for? Now, I think most women shop on Shein. already?
I do not.
But
overwhelming.
It actually is so overwhelming. I was like, I need to allocate like a solid hour to this of my day. Not 15 minutes. I need to allocate. Well, to be honest, you could spend a whole day there.
Yeah.
But I am going to Bali on Saturday, and I was like, I just need, a couple of bikinis, a little throw over, just nice little things, shorts, whatever. So I did like a decent order on Shein.
Did they come?
And it came.
What? Did they fit?
Yeah. Well, some of them, okay. But all the throwovers and stuff, they went really well. So that's my recommendation. If you need to save some money and just bulk up on, get a steel Shein is my recommendation of the week. But I want to know, let's have the very first question that I want to talk about is when it does come to internal health, what are the most common issues that you come across when you're doing a consult call? Like, what are some of the alarming things that you see in relation to internal health?
So a lot of people come to me because they want answers, because it starts with the fact that they can't recompose. So they can't lose weight. They might be on low calories. They might have tried all different things, all different coaches, but they just have this sort of fluffy, pudgy look and they can't recompose. That's when you have to start looking at internal health. So people come to me with that initial problem and they're not quite aware of what's actually going on, which is not their fault. Like, people don't know.
Yeah.
So they go to the doctor and they ask the doctor, like, can you do my blood work? Something's up. For someone to go to the doctor, I'll just point on this, like, they're generally at breaking point.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I will avoid going to the doctor because it'll end an argument or I have to drive 25 minutes because that's where my doctor is. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't want to go. And that's most people, So, they go to the doctor, they're told everything is fine. So they're just stuck. And that's generally when people come to me.
And what is some of the differences that we may as well get straight into blood work now then, with what are some of these things that you see when people do go to the doctor? For example, they might be dismissed of a certain thing, but then you start looking and paying attention to their nutrition. What do you see? What are some of the things that you see?
Well, this is why I ended up so passionate about gut health, I suppose, continued along being more and more passionate as the weeks go on. This is generally the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll look at someone's blood work and, you'll have your vitamin deficiencies for sure. You're going to have low vitamin D. Everyone's got low iron, like everyone that I look at, unless they're supplementing with it and they've got proper advice. But then their white cells are a mess.
Yeah.
So that's generally the telltale sign, that their gut health is in strife. Your white cells are a mess. And they'll be like, oh, I did have a cold 2 weeks ago. But you might see someone's panel from 3 years in a row and they've been plummeted that entire time. Doctors aren't telling people this. So this isn't like, I don't want to, make this all about, doctors don't do this, doctors don't do that. I'm just, helping people become more aware of what to look for and what the problem might be.
What do you think people need to look for when they are getting their blood work done? So I know that people know that, I should probably get my blood work done. I should see whether I have a nutrition deficiency or, there might be an underlying issue that I need to check out. What do you think is something that people should really get checked that you see is quite low or needs attention?
The thing is, so you might be going in with gut issues, right? But where's it stemming from? And then if you do have issues with your gut or your microbiome, you've got leaky gut or anything like that, it's going to have a flow-on effect. So really, when you go in, you want to get a full blood panel. You want to get your hormones done too, all of your steroidal
hormones. And your thyroid as well.
You need your thyroid done. You need your cortisol done. You need all of your sex hormones done. You want to see your red cells, your white cells, your liver, your kidney. They're also telltale signs that you might have, bacterial infection.
Yeah.
Trouble detoxifying toxins. So you really do need a full blood panel, really, but then have someone that understands how to read it, because that's the main thing I get. And I don't push that. I want to see all of my clients' blood work. It's totally up to them. But if they say to me, doctor said everything's fine, I've just got high cholesterol. Fuck, that one gets me.
And you go, no, send it through.
I'm
now.
just like, okay, that's great. Like, I'm really happy to hear that. Do you mind if I have a look? And then I'm just like, all right, I'm going to have a chat.
This is the thing for people that don't have the privilege of having you as their coach. If someone is going and getting their blood work done, they're told from like, who do you think, like, what should people be doing in terms, who can people refer to for them to, besides you, to actually understand their results better? Like, is there a way for you to guide people in a direction that they can actually look into these results a little bit deeper? Or are you just suggesting that when people do get their results, they urge the doctor to kind of be like, hey, tell me a little bit more?
Yeah, exactly. I think if you're adamant that something's up, you need to push and ask questions. One thing you want to do is look at the results yourself. All right. Yep. So let's say you're not working with me or you don't have a contact with, someone else that has knowledge in this area. Look at the results yourself. Don't just take what they've said for Bible. Go home. If there is something in red and they haven't said, hey, this marker's out of range, then that's something to bring up. So, this happened to one of my family members recently, and it really upset me because they showed me their blood work, which they don't often do. They definitely do now. But I said, so what did they say about this? And what did they say about this? Yeah. And she goes, what do you mean? So, there was red markers of something out of range. And I tell you now, doctors' ranges.
I want to talk about this. How different are the ranges of, say, a general GP to say what you would consider a little bit, this needs work, this needs attention?
So they base ranges off people that go and see them, right? So generally speaking, people that go to the doctors are sick or old. Yeah. So they get an average. So the mean average of the people that they see. So all of the sick people that they see, this is the average.
That's the average.
And this is where optimal kind of is. But optimal for them is just not dead. I know I'm being a bit aggressive with that, but what I'm saying is, sometimes the markers are okay, like the ranges that they give are okay, but I'm just saying it's not the best way to optimize something.
Yeah. And then so if you were to look at the blood panel, what are some markers or areas that you, besides the iron and stuff from before, that you're like, okay, cool. What do you see most common?
One thing that's really common, and I asked Dan this yesterday as well, who works very closely with me as a coach, and has taught me a lot about blood work as well. We both agreed that cholesterol is an issue, but people have low cholesterol. So, they teach you constantly, oh, don't have this, you'll have high cholesterol. And that is the feedback doctors always give people. It's always about their cholesterol. I could sit there, and it's happened to me. I've had some fucked up blood work, I tell you now, and this is how I learn. And I would know markers are not good. I'm like, just give me the paper and I'm going home to sort this out. Yeah. But they would say, yep, cholesterol's good. And I'm thinking, that's all the feedback you have.
And you were like, there's way more to be said.
There is some issues here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the issues that you have had with your own blood work before, or some of your own things that you've worked on yourself.
I'll just finish on that cholesterol bit so I give people something.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back to that for sure. Yeah. So, they sort of teach you that you really want to have low cholesterol, right? So a lot of people are, really proud of themselves because they've got low cholesterol and they've cut out meat and eggs, which you don't do. But cholesterol is actually very, very important for secretion of your hormones. So you need adequate cholesterol to produce your estrogen and your progesterone. You need these things for LH and all that. So just plummeting them, you're going to end up with other issues with your sex hormones.
Yeah, which is why having a higher fat diet for some people is more beneficial than a higher carb diet, right?
Correct. So when you look at all of the research they do on perimenopausal and menopausal women, what are they getting them to consume? Protein, high fat.
Yeah.
Calcium.
Yes,
all of these things. So it's all high fat, high protein, not necessarily keto, but they're minimizing carbohydrates. But all of their younger years, people are telling them, get rid of fat, high cholesterol, you'll have high cholesterol. Why do roles reverse?
It's so interesting. Yeah.
Because they're like, all right, we need to start secreting these sex hormones and like getting things firing and getting you healthy again because it's all through the floor. So what do we need to do? We need to give you fats.
Yep.
Just going to up your cholesterol, your total cholesterol and your HDL. And LDL is not the burden either. So, you know, you don't want to go and eat things in, you know, super high saturated trans fats. But it's not what I'm saying at all. But healthy fats are very, very beneficial.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just one tip I want to give people.
I think that's really important too, because a lot of people will, even when I review people's food diaries and things like that, I'm like, wow, like some of their fats sometimes are really low. And then you do hear about so many people having, you know, menstruation issues or difficulties with their cycles and things like that. And there's just so many different factors to consider.
Yeah, and difficulty with, you know, inflammations. So many people are super inflamed, but yeah, people are scared of fat. And also there's so much on the internet, and this is true, that, you know, per 1 gram, there's 9 calories in fat.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And there's only 4 calories in carbohydrates.
Yep.
And people love carbs. So they're like, oh, awesome excuse. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So they're like, I'll avoid fat because now I can eat more food if I just eat carbs.
Yep.
So
it's it's the balance between all 3 macronutrients really, and depending on the individual with what they really need, right?
100%.
Well, okay. On that note, I think that's really good advice. I think the key takeaway is to look further into your blood work. So when you are getting your blood work done, get the data yourself, look at the data yourself. If you're seeing a red marker or something that looks a little bit different, check it out, ask questions.
For sure. And if your symptoms are persistent, you know, so if they're telling you your sex hormones are normal, but every single time it's that time of month or the week prior, you're in excruciating pain, you absolutely swell up, you can't train, you have to take time off work, that's not normal.
Yeah.
You know, I've got plenty of clients that have come to me like that. And, you know, obviously you improve those symptoms significantly. But, you know, just because someone's telling you it's normal, don't take that for an answer. It's not.
While you're on that note, did you want to touch on PCOS?
For sure.
Yeah. And then we're going on many tangents, and that's that's exactly the point. I think I just want to have a conversation about all of these different things. And I did have a number of questions here to go through, but even just touching on things as they come up, I think is really cool.
Sure.
So we apologize for going on tangents, but I think all in all, like, it's important to touch on it as it comes up.
100%.
So
tangent story of my life. I'll go on Instagram and I want to post like one story and keep it like really, really short and sharp and to the point, and then 5 stories later.
I do the same. So, and as well, because you love detail with things too.
I like to justify what I say.
Yeah, and you're really comprehensive, and that's why I love having you as a coach, because you do dig deeper. So yeah, even on that note with getting pain, like so many girls that get their menstrual cycle that get a lot of pain on their cycle every month. That's not fucking normal, right? No. Did you want to tap on that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Like that can be for many reasons. Like often detoxification pathways is the issue. So you detox 2/3 via your liver and 1/3 via your small intestine. Obviously there's like your lymphatic system as well and your skin, etc. But if you've got compromised detoxification pathways, this is generally what's creating such horrific PMS for you. So people that get super bad PMS, one thing that cross-correlates directly, gut health.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because a lot of people don't have a super compromised liver at this age and in the health and fitness industry, right? I work with a lot of people that look after themselves, but if they have severe PMS, they generally have an issue with their gut health, whether it be leaky gut, microbiome, things like that. So again, comes back to look after your gut. Like you have to look after your gut for things to work. Let's
get into the topic of that, because I think that is probably the main thing that you work with in terms of like helping women, men as well. But the whole IBS, taking out and removing different things from the diet, looking at someone's diet to understand, okay, what is triggering them, what is giving them flare-ups, what is giving them inflammation. I think this is really cool to get into.
Sure.
So let's move on to gut health and let's talk about some of the common symptoms that you see when clients come to you with flare-ups of having a bit of bloating. Like, is that the most common thing that you hear? I'm feeling really bloated.
You know what is weird? Like, it's one thing that I would say and I would notice in my photos and stuff, but a lot of people don't say it to me. A lot of people are unaware.
Really?
They're unaware. And I'll be looking at a check-in photo.
Really?
Yeah, not you. Like, but some people are unaware and they're unaware that they have gut health issues, but they also might be in denial. So, you know, these people are often people that have like quite tight attachments to certain foods.
Yes.
But it's not often bloating necessarily. The main thing that really like makes me upset is people like will go to the bathroom, like empty their bowels like 3 times a week and be like, oh, it's normal for me. Always been this way. And I'm like, how are you able to concentrate? So I went through it.
Yeah, okay.
You know, so I can, when people tell me about their symptoms and I investigate and I find things out, I get passionate because I've been there.
Yeah.
You know, like I've been through hell with my gut. I don't, like there's multiple things that would have caused it, I suppose, like from my younger life. I'm not old yet. Let's not say that.
You're definitely
from my
not.
younger life. But I went through it, you know, when I knew something was really up, I could not go to the bathroom. I was just severely constipated.
How old were you at that point?
I was in my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in my early 20s.
Were you competing at that time or not really?
Just starting to.
Okay.
But it was, you know, off the back end of a severe eating disorder for most of my teens.
Well, let's get into that and talk about, because obviously I think a lot of coaches that you, like the work that you do, you're so passionate about it, as you said, because you've gone through it yourself. So you've experienced it, so you can relate. You can resonate and you can understand.
Yeah.
So what is it that what was the first thing that you noticed in terms of something's not right here? I don't know what's wrong, but I need to investigate.
So I suppose, it all started with just not being able to go to the bathroom. And I was using it, unless I was using like a laxative. So that was like pretty bad. Like it wouldn't.
So you were just like constipated. You could not go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I was relying on laxatives. I was, you know, those colonics.
I was going to say, and like, were you ever someone that took Metamucil and things like that?
Yeah, that made it worse.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So when I see
talking about this,
when I see in people's like whether they say like in their check-in like I couldn't go to the bathroom but I had Metamucil, I'm like no,
take it out. Why?
Trauma.
Why? Literally. Okay. I want to hear your reason as to why it's not a good solution to fixing your bowels.
Well, everyone's got. Well, it doesn't fix it.
Yeah.
So that's number one. It masks.
It's a bit of a Band-Aid.
Like a Band-Aid. But I generally find it just bloats the hell out of you.
Yeah, okay.
Did it bloat you?
I can't remember, to be honest, but I do remember looking back in hindsight. I think I've gone through a very similar pathway and I never used to be able to go I was the same. I probably went to the bathroom like 3 times a week.
Did you track your food?
Back then?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
So it's often a fiber thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or an under eating thing like it was. So again, a fiber thing.
Yeah.
So it's generally a fiber thing. But it's also like quality of food. That's a huge one. So when people say, like, obviously my symptoms got way worse than that and we'll get into it. But this was like one of the first things where I was like, something's not right.
Yeah.
Like, so I look at people's food diaries. So they're like, I only go to the bathroom like 3 times a week, but you know, this is what I eat. So I always say to people when I have a consult with them, I say, what's your day of eating?
Yeah.
And that'll tell me a lot. If they want to do macros, like I welcome it. I really do. But these people that have gut health issues don't stay doing macros for long because I just say to them, and it's not to trap them. It's just so I get genuine, honest insight. I say, add me as a friend. I want to see your food.
On MyFitnessPal?
On MyFitnessPal. I
Yeah.
just want to see your food. And they invite me and they track their food and la-da-da. And then I'm looking at it. And I'm like, this is the issue.
Yeah, you can pinpoint it straight away. So what is the issue for someone that does have gut issues? When you look at someone's MyFitnessPal, what are some of the foods that stand out that you're like, that is something that's causing a flare up, that is something that's going to cause inflammation? What are the common things that you see?
I want to just like really sort of clarify. I don't want to like demonize foods, but if you do have an irritated gut and you want to heal it, you're going to have to clean them up.
Yep.
So that's just, because I know that you like some freedom with your food.
Yeah.
Works for you.
Yeah.
It's all good. You're on heaps of calories. You're in a good position. You know the foods you need to avoid, and that's all good.
I think when it comes to that too, is like I have gone through the same shit. So now, and I've done the gut testing as well. Like I've done the gut testing, I've done the samples where I've been able to identify what exactly is causing these issues. So I know that my body can't do dairy, but I'm okay with gluten.
Yeah.
So like I know what I can and can't eat in terms of pushing the limits. And that's why people that don't know, that's when they need to kind of remove some things out to
you
work
do
it out.
process of elimination.
Yeah.
But again, and that process can narrow down what the actual issue is. So gut issues is broad. So there's so many things that could be going on.
Oh yeah,
right?
For sure.
And IBS, like you can use it as a term, like you have an, irritated bowel. That's cool. But it's not actually like, it's not a diagnosis. It just means irritated bowel. Don't know why. That is it. You know what I mean?
My gut is unhappy.
Do you have leaky gut? Have you got SIBO? Have you got candida? Are you dealing with a parasite?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? Generally speaking, here we go. Like I'm going on tangent again.
There is so much to it.
So much in my brain.
Yeah.
I don't need the energy drink anymore. But generally speaking, leaky gut is the first problem. So that's intestinal permeability, right? So that's when the lining of your gut walls has tiny little holes in it and damage, all right? From inflammation, from consuming things like gluten, which is going to create an inflammatory response, and just poor nutritional behavior over a long period of time. No one is born with leaky gut. No one is born with SIBO. Well, no, I don't think you can be born with SIBO. You know what I mean? Like you can get hereditary sort of like predispositions, but you're not born with a damaged gut line. You damage it.
Yeah.
So you got to have responsibility there. And when you reach out to someone and they go, here's the advice, some people are resistant to that advice.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear it. You're a bully because you're telling them A, B, C, D, but you're correct. So they always come back if they leave. But if you've created this situation for yourself, you got to deal with the consequences and you got to be willing to do the work to get yourself back out of it. And you can get out of it. You don't have to stay like in this unhealthy state forever.
Yeah. What are some of the reasons as to why this comes about? So we mentioned before undereating was one of them.
Yeah, malnourishment for sure.
So malnourishment can cause gut issues. I know stress is another one. So stress can lead to this as well. What other things can lead to it from your experience?
Nutritional behaviors. So a lot of processed carbohydrates and sugars. That's a massive one.
Yeah, like artificial sweeteners and stuff.
Artificial sweeteners and stuff will cause inflammation. But the main thing that's going to really affect your microbiome is food. So highly processed foods, high sugar foods. That's a huge one if you're going to, cause bacterial imbalances for sure, and things like leaky gut. But then you've got things like alcohol.
Yeah.
Drugs.
Yeah.
So some people are, they'll be like, oh, I don't drink. And I'm like, awesome. What else do you take?
Yeah.
So that's one thing as well. And it's not to like point fingers at people's behaviors, but all of these, anything you consume is going to have an influence on your hormones, on your gut, on your brain function, on your mood.
Yeah.
So everything, you are what you eat, you are what you consume for sure. So it's like, it does come down to mainly people's dietary choices. So if I, again, going back to like, if I look at someone's food diary.
Yep.
There's a lot of snacks. There's a lot of not much, like they don't eat a lot, but heaps of dairy. Like people love cheese.
Yeah.
I don't eat cheese. Like if I do, I'll be like, oh, like a cube bit of cheese at like a, off this platter at a friend's house. But like people love cheese.
I am laughing because until I actually did proper gut testing, I was such a slut for a cheese board. Like I loved it.
That's funny.
This is the funny thing is I when I was younger, I did love to drink, I did love to party, socialize, do all that. And so your diet's pretty shit when you do that. At the same time, drinking alcohol, my body doesn't like it, right? And so one thing that came up in this gut test that I did was gin, like red. Do not drink gin, Kayla.
And you had a lot of gin.
And I had so many gin and tonics.
Yeah. So keep going.
Oh, well, the funny thing is I would be out with my friends and we would always make a cheese board and I would have gin and tonics and a cheese board. I'd be on the dance floor and being like, why the fuck do I just need to fart everywhere? Like
and
my
now
gut.
you can't have lactose and you can't have gin.
No. Yeah, that's the thing. So now that I've identified, okay, this is why I used to be so gassy in social settings.
How embarrassing.
How embarrassing. It was because I was eating and drinking, consuming all these things that my body hated.
You've stopped doing that for a while now, yeah?
Oh, ages. Like my gut is so good now. And it's after, doing that process of elimination and actually being like, and just, switching from milk chocolate to dark chocolate, things like that.
Dairy is a big one, but I will say this.
Yeah.
So your sensitivities to food, so dairy and gluten generally, if you've got intolerance to that, generally that's going to stick around. Yeah. All right. You can do a lot of healing. For me, like I can have some dairy now. Yeah. But I always I'm very in tune with my body. Like, the next day I'll be like, I can see it. But I can't be like that. People shouldn't be like me. It's not good. But gluten still makes me very lethargic for days after I have it, even after all of this healing that I've done. So those two are generally pretty stuck with you.
It's funny on the note of dairy though.
Others can change it. Yeah. So your sensitivities change every 3 or so months based off what you consume a lot of. Now, a lot of people, especially in the bodybuilding world, they are quite happy eating the same thing every day for years. And I'm like that. I make myself change protein sources. I was going to say,
let's talk about diversity of food and how that's important for your gut microbiome.
Well, it is because you can develop a sensitivity around anything that you consume too much of, and you do need a vast variety of foods so that your microbiome stays healthy and thriving for sure. You can't just rely on probiotics all the time. You do need to eat a variety of foods so that your gut can tolerate more for sure. If you've got a really, really damaged gut, your food window needs to narrow. Absolutely. For a period of time whilst you're healing it. All right. So things like high FODMAP probably needs to go. Can't digest that. A lot of people can't.
Yeah, that's me for sure.
Gluten and dairy, that's got to go. But what people don't understand is they go, okay, yep, I'm low FODMAP now. And they don't actually look into what low FODMAP is. So that gets me. So when I do people's protocols and, I tell them, I give them advice. So I'll look at their blood work and here's your supplement list, right? And I explain everything that I'll give them. And everyone's list is going to be different depending on, what we're working on. But then I accompany that with a foods list where foods they can enjoy, go nuts, foods that I really think you need to avoid for a while. And
like the traffic light system kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what I've come to realize lately is people go, they don't even really read that list. And I'm like, guys, you've spent a lot of money on all of these supplements, right? You're spending a lot of money on me. Yeah. Read your list. Yeah. Read your foods to avoid list. If it says high FODMAP foods, you got to avoid it. Look it up. There's get that Monash University
I was literally going to say the Monash. And
I send it to my clients too. So I will go into detail. I'll say especially onion, garlic, blah, blah, blah. But it's people don't read labels or they just thought it just goes whoosh, and they forget about that list.
Yeah.
Like if you're one of those people, screenshot the list, that is your screensaver. So you can still go out with friends. You know what I mean? You can still go to a restaurant. I don't want it to be about like, oh, I'm doing this gut protocol, I have to stay at home and it's like a comp prep. It doesn't have to be like that. Like restaurants these days are so accommodating. Like even when I'm going through protocols, I can find something to eat.
Well, even on the note of dining out, a lot of people who don't really eat processed foods and things like that, or they track their food and they monitor that really closely. But then when they dine out, they will find themselves that they do have gut issues after they've dined out, or they do feel bloated the next day, or whatever, IBS symptoms, whatever it might be. And it's because obviously the extra additives in the foods that they're consuming when they're dining out or they're getting takeaway or whatever it is, that can cause some gut upset too.
Sometimes it's unavoidable. You know, like sometimes it gets me and I'm just like, damn it. But it's like, well, like I have fun with my friends. And I'm aware. But I always make conscious decisions when I'm looking at that menu so that I can enjoy my time. And I put this on my story the other day. It was about like people start to get anxiety about eating out because of what the scale weight does the next few days. But that's inflammation.
Yeah.
You know,
let's talk about this.
You need to choose foods that you can tolerate. All right. So it's not, okay, I can't go out, because people often get stressed about it. And I've been one of those people, I'm sure you have too. And they get on the scale the next day, maybe avoid it the next day, by the way. Get on the scale 2 days later and you're often leaner.
I literally spoke about this on my story today.
It's always 2 days later. So just avoid it. If you go out on Saturday, don't get on it on Sunday. Monday, you'll be like, bang, lightest yet. And you'll message your coach like you do me.
I do this all the time.
And it's funny because you're always surprised. You're like, aha. But yeah, so generally speaking, like if you know foods that trigger you, like let's say you can't have gluten, you're gluten intolerant. Why are you at an Italian restaurant getting a full gluten pizza? Just get the gluten-free base. And the next day you're going to feel good. And it's not even just about the scale weight. And this is what like frustrates me the most. So if I eat something that my body just doesn't tolerate, I'm exhausted.
So which is interesting because a lot of people associate if they're gluten intolerant with bloating and stuff, whereas you actually have other
neurological stuff.
That's mind blowing.
Like if I feel like just a bit bloated or a bit like puffy, I'm like it's just a bit of gluten or it's, you know, extra sodium or whatever. But if I can't concentrate on my work and I can't like switch it on for my session, or, you know, I can't get on my story and just talk, that irritates me.
That is from having gluten.
And so many people experience it.
Wow, because I've never experienced that.
All different sensitivities. So you might not get it from lactose, but a lot of people get it from FODMAP. So they might have, you know, they might have loose stools and stuff the next day, but then like they're feeling just out of it. So it's not worth it for me. And when people start to uncover what's actually going on and they start avoiding their triggers, they go, wow, like, and they stop eating that food.
And they feel better. So
it's hard to get them to stop eating that food. But once they do, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't even want it anymore.
That's really true, because that's how I am with dairy now. Like, but with that said, even on the note of dairy, like there's certain things that I can have Chobani Greek yogurt and stuff. Like there's certain things that I can have that are fine, but take me on a date to get ice cream, I am not getting that.
Don't
like,
get it.
Do you know what I mean?
Enjoy your day.
That's what I mean. Like I actually don't buy ice cream unless it's lactose free now, or I'll get sorbet or something like that. Like,
but you still have options.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So it's like this self-sabotaging thing. And again, like I will say, like the sensitivity thing, going back to that, you might be sensitive to a certain thing, but if you heal your gut, you can reintroduce that. So it's not like I'm sitting here going, all of these people like don't eat gluten, don't eat dairy, don't eat FODMAP food. Like you can definitely introduce them, but if your gut is damaged, you need to do some work.
Yeah.
In the interim, there is so many things you can have, like lactose-free ice cream. You're still having your ice cream.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
it. Peter's lactose free. I love that ice
There
cream.
you
It's
go.
but I'm so boring. I'm just like just plain vanilla ice cream, and I'm okay with that.
Vanilla's good.
But I think like we could even bring it back to some of our own experiences with all of these issues as well. Like we can tie it into what our own gut issues were. Like I don't think you ever finished like kind of your story with it all and the degree of and severity that you had with it. Because I definitely did as well. And I know I think we had a similar version. It was due to malnourishment, under eating or some underlying, eating disorder or whatever. And that led to me definitely having gut issues from then. And I remember I was really young. I was like between 17, 18, but then it came really bad the first time I competed back when I was 21.
So that comes down to, yes, so there's the malnourishment part, absolutely. But then there's the stress part. So there's the high cortisol part and there's the deteriorating of your gut because you're in such a stressed state. So you're running every day. You're not eating. You're putting your body in like so much stress.
Yeah.
And of course, that is going to have a flow-on effect into your internal health.
Oh,
Everything's going to start to downregulate and shut down. So you end up in this position. This position will then create an array of other problems. So for me, I had severe intestinal permeability. So that's leaky gut.
Yeah.
But full on.
Yeah. Let's talk about this.
Yeah. So I had that and then that leaves you susceptible. So that's all these little holes in your gut lining. I'll try and keep this like as digestible as possible.
Yeah.
And that's leaving you vulnerable to toxins getting out of the gut into the bloodstream and circulating, which is going to make you feel, have brain fog, feel really ill, bloated. It's also letting things in. So all of these negative gram bacteria, fungi, parasites, etc., can all come into the gut lining. So it's just like it's havoc. All right, it's creating havoc.
It's horrible.
And yeah, there's just a lot of toxins circulating in your bloodstream, which you can't detoxify because if you're constipated and your detoxification pathways are compromised, these toxins just continue to circulate. All right. So that's what I had. Just quickly on that. If your detoxification pathways are compromised and you've got all this bacteria circulating, all this extra food circulating, you've also got excess estrogen and sex hormones circulating. All right. And this is where people start to put on weight.
Yeah.
Because they're not detoxifying, right? If you're not detoxifying all of this waste and all of these excess hormones, they're just going to continue to circulate in the bloodstream and eventually just accumulate and sit there and turn into fat, excess estrogen. Yeah. So this is how it can have a flow-on effect to your sex hormones. But anyway, so I ended up with...
Anyway.
So I had leaky gut, right? But then I also had candida overgrowth, but in my intestinal walls.
Because that's really common too.
In my gut, it is. So you can get that in your mouth, you can get it in your gut, and you can get it in your vagina. I never thought this would be an issue for me because I've never dealt with thrush, which is great. But I definitely had it in my gut, and this is a fungi, and this can spread as well. So even when I speak to some of my clients and I'll ask them strange questions. So they're coming to me for their gut and their thyroid, for example.
And you're asking them if they've got thrush.
I recently did this protocol and I was like, hun, just quickly, like, sorry, but like, do you deal with thrush? And she's like, yeah, like all the time. And BV, it won't go away. And I was like, knew it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Because I was like, I reckon she's got candida and I reckon there's more to it. And so it's spreading. So it's going all over the shop. But anyway, so I had that, and that created, I had brain fog. I couldn't, and I had like symptoms of chronic fatigue. I couldn't get up. I couldn't go about my day. I constantly felt like I was in a haze.
Were you also in a dieting phase at this point too? Like on low calories or not particularly?
Not particularly. But when you feel crap, you don't want to eat a lot.
Yeah.
However, no.
Were you sick all the time as well at that point?
My immune system?
Yeah. Was that compromised as well?
Probably, yeah. I never get sick now, touch wood.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like my immune system was absolutely compromised. My white cells were a mess. What else was happening? Just trying to reflect on it all. Yeah, look, it was a mess. And I couldn't run an online business because I couldn't concentrate. I also have ADHD, so it made it even worse. But yeah, so that's sort of where I came from, and just coming out of that has made me like super passionate about helping everyone else, because it literally derails you. Like you can't. Every day I was convincing myself to get up and go to work. I would have like, I used to tell my clients I had allergic reactions because my face was so puffy from inflammation. And I used to think maybe it was an allergic reaction, but I'd eat the same thing. But my immune system was just so overwhelmed.
What were you eating back then that caused the flare-ups?
Not a lot. It was just, and that's the thing too. It's not always, so I was still eating quite clean and healthy, right?
Yeah.
I've never been someone that's just overindulged in things I shouldn't eat. But it gets to the point where when your gut is so damaged, you can be like, but what did I eat? Like, why do I feel like
it doesn't matter. It's anything.
Damage is done.
Yeah.
So you can flare up from anything when it gets that bad. So I could literally have white fish and rice and still feel shit that day. So that's when you know.
When you're at that point where it's like, okay, the damage is done, like I have completely fucked my gut, where to go from there? Like, what is the first step from that point?
First step from that point, you've really got to speak to someone that knows what they're doing. So I was lucky enough to finally, after years, come across Dave O'Brien.
Okay.
And he has taught me so much over the years. So massive credit to him. But he was the one that said, you have this, like after all of these years. And I'm like, thank you, because everyone else told me that, you know, I was a hypochondriac and there was nothing wrong, and just, you know, take some Movicol. Trauma. So now when clients are like, oh, the doctor gave me Movicol, I'm like, okay, we're not going to have that. But that's what they say. Like, they don't actually listen to you. You know, I still remember, and it comes into like, you know, I went to the doctor once and I said, I'm holding all of this fluid. I don't know what to do and why. You know, I feel like absolute shit. And she could see the fluid in my face, and she gave me like a diuretic, and she said I could have one every day, and I took it.
Because you didn't know any different.
I took it, and I looked back, and then I got addicted, because I was like, I look good because I don't have all this water.
Yeah.
And I was addicted, and I kept going back to her for more and more. And then obviously then my kidney is stressed and my liver is stressed. So now I have leaky gut, candida, a stressed liver and a stressed kidney, which were already getting stressed from the bacteria. So I've learned so many lessons.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the doctor's solutions. Whereas Dave was like, all right, you have this. This is how we're going to get you out of it.
And so how did you get out of it?
Well, I went through a protocol of healing my gut lining first, and this is how I approach it with my clients too. Heal the lining of your gut first, so that any work that you do on your gut microbiome is actually going to work. All right.
Yeah.
So if you've still got holes in your gut lining, you're still letting toxins in and out. Right.
How do you heal your gut lining?
There's a whole heap of different supplements that you can use, which is going to assist with it. But you also want to reduce the inflammatory load as well. And you want to, you know, remove these processed carbohydrates and these sugars and all of this like inflammatory foods. But then, yeah, you want to look at immune health and immunology. So most of your immune system is built in your gut.
Yep.
All right. So to heal that, you need to heal your immune system. So this is where it goes back to what I said initially about people's white cells.
Yep.
So people come to me and they say, I've got a messed up gut. I look at their white cells. I'm like, yes, you do. All right. So it's yeah. So you need to start healing your immune system. So obviously everyone's supplement protocol is going to be different. So I don't want you to like sort of grab a pen and paper and just be like,
yeah, I need this.
because you don't know the dosages and stuff, but you know, you need vitamin C, vitamin A, peptide round is a great way to go as well. Like a lot of people waste time on buying so many different like gut health blends. But BPC 157 is amazing.
Okay.
Whether you use the oral form or injectable form, both are going to work. So that's a huge one. What else could you do for it? Beef liver and organ meats. Mm-hmm. So whether you actually get like capsule form or you actually get beef liver, so organ meats, and collagen, slow cooked meats, all of these things that are going to really help collagen formation and tissue repair, because your gut is a tissue, it's a muscle.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the sort of thing you want to look into when healing your gut.
Yeah. And then in terms of like diets and what you kind of look at when you are working with women that have these like ongoing issues with their gut, their hormones, all of these things, what would be some of the like a day on a plate that would help with what would be a gut friendly day on a plate?
For sure. Yeah, so you can definitely have gut friendly ones. Obviously, depending on what issue you have with bacteria, it's going to vary, I suppose. The main thing is, I will say this, people that crave certain foods and like have real trouble letting go of them, that has to go.
Yeah. What would be an example that someone that you know your client...
So sugars, all right? For example, so if someone is just obsessed with these crackers, rice cakes are okay and things like that, but like these crackers or like their cereal, like their, even if it's Exo Crunch, like it looks healthy, it's Freedom Foods. But again, sugar. So candida, like I was talking about before, that lives in your gut, and yeast, and people know it as like thrush and things like that. So they thrive and breed off processed carbohydrates and sugars. So someone that is like craving sugar, a lot of women get that like premenstrual. That's kind of normal. So don't like panic. But if you're constantly like snacky, even if you like are working at your desk and you just constantly need more carbs. I was like that when I had candida. I could not stop eating, and rice cakes is okay, but that's what I was craving. That, and then I would want
the salt and vinegar one.
Yeah, anything. And I had this constant need to snack. That's not normal, you know. And when you heal your gut, you think, shit, I'm not craving that anymore.
Yeah.
So, and one of them was banana chips, dried fruit. Couldn't stop craving it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And that's because that bacteria, like my microbiome was like, I'm living off this. I need this sugar. So cravings can get more intense too when the die-off starts. Yeah. Because that bacteria is like, okay, you're killing me. Like I need the food, and people cave and they think, oh, I'm still taking all my supplements.
And then it makes it worse.
It makes it worse. So that food that you really, really don't want to let go of, that's generally the one. But yeah, for like a gut sort of healthy day on a plate, maybe try an omelet in the mornings. Like eggs are amazing. So you want to have fats and protein. You can still have bread, case dependent, but an organic sourdough is pretty good. Or some gluten-free bread, but just be careful with that. Like read your labels. So many gluten-free products, like I agree, they're not actually better. And they can create more inflammation than, you know, gluten bread sometimes. Yeah. So just be careful reading your labels. And then you want to have, you know, some slow cooked meat. You can have some chicken, turkey, salmon's amazing. Yeah. Things high in, you know, omega-3 fats. In terms of like fats, you can have coconut oil, olive oil, macadamia oil. Nut butters are all good. Probably not peanut butter and cashew. That's like a mold food. That's not going to help.
So something like almond butter would be better.
Almond butter's all right. Yeah. Macadamia spread, like 100% macadamia spread's awesome. Yeah, sort of stick to those sorts of foods. Greek yogurt's good. Coconut yogurt's even better. Yep. In terms of like fruit, low FODMAP fruit. So I really do think like look up FODMAP Monash University app.
Yeah, do that, because there's so much on there with like variations and just the food list as well. For sure. In green and red. That's what I remember back in the day, years ago, that's what I referred to. And then that is when I come to the realization that I can't do garlic, I can't do onion, I can't do chickpeas. And I've continued to trial and error it over the years. Yeah. And even like something like cauliflower, I can't do cauliflower.
No. And that's the thing, like people get so disheartened And that's why I always say, like, people aren't in the wrong for what they're doing because they don't know better.
Yeah.
They're trying to be healthy.
Because they think they're healthy. That's right.
I'm going to eat broccoli, but I think it's only the heads that you can eat if it's FODMAP or the stalks. There's one. I don't think you can eat the stalks.
But how weird, broccolini is fine.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
It's very, and it's like beetroot, for example. You can have canned beetroot, but you can't have whole organic beetroot.
Wow.
So one client sent it to me and she's like, "Oh, Bel, I got this beetroot. It's so much better. Like you got to try it. It tastes better and it's organic." And and she really was like being genuine, and I didn't want to shut her down.
Oh no.
But I had to.
Yeah.
I was like,
there's so many foods like that though, because, you know, people, especially like the general person is like, oh yeah, it's a vegetable, it's a fruit, like it's healthy. This is good for me. And then it's that's like some people just can't do apples and like grapes and stuff as well.
My dad's one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to fix his gut, but I don't think he'll let me.
Oh no.
I'm fixing my mum though.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But like if you were to think about all these foods, like when I say to people, oh yeah, I can't have that cup, they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I've done it. I've trialed it like over the years, and it's like I can do it, but you just have to deal with me being gassy in front of you like for the next
and you just don't want to deal with that discomfort. I think that everyone will change when they're ready. So it's like anything. You know, often I give them some hefty stuff to read when I do their bloods, and sometimes it can overwhelm people, but I think it's better than me getting on a Zoom and giving them all this information. They absorb a little bit of it, get overwhelmed, zone out, and then they don't have it to refer back to.
Yeah,
right?
I think written works better because then they can refer back to it as well.
And if they're not ready at the time, if they're like, thanks, Bel, and they take a while to actually purchase the supplements, make the changes in their diet, it'll be like a slow thing.
Yeah.
But eventually, like, the cost of not changing will get so expensive that they're like, I'm over this, let's follow this. And they've got that to refer to.
That's exactly right, because supplementations and all of the things that you do to change how you're feeling, it is costly, but at the same time, like, it's worth it for how you feel at the end of it. So
and people always look for the quicker way. So like, you know, if I give someone a protocol, it might be 10 weeks long. Yeah. You know, people are like, oh my God, can't give me something that works tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I wish, like, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But you got to do the work. And it'll pay off. 100% it'll pay off. But you just got to be ready to do the work.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's so common, I think, for people these days to just have issues with their guts, like, and just anything, all the things that they eat.
Everyone's got one. I'll go to any social event and I'm like, don't work, Bel, don't work, Bel. And I'll like, it'll be a wedding and someone will say something like, oh yeah, no, I don't eat this and that. And I bloat, but I'm just listening in. And then,
you can't help yourself.
Then sometimes they start including me in the conversation because they want advice. And I'm just like, don't do it. I end up doing it. Whether it's that or it's about their hormones or it's about, like, everyone has a complaint about their body. Yeah. They love to tell me. But, you know, I can't fix everything. I don't have ego. But if I can help people, I can't help it.
Yeah. But I think that's the thing. Like, you're so knowledgeable with this stuff, and that's why people come to you. People come to you because they can't figure it out for themselves, you know? And I think an area that stands out the most is the whole blood work thing, because there's not many coaches out there that do blood work.
Yeah.
I want to know how you got into that. I want to know, how did you learn about it? Like, did you know, who did you learn from? Did you do some kind of course in this, and then what was it that made you actually start offering it as a service?
So all different courses over like the past years, for sure, like short courses, following different people on Instagram, doing their mini courses, networking with people. But then, like I said, working with Dave, just he's an incredible mentor, and Dan, who actually works for me as a coach. So I reached out to Dan and learned a lot from him with my own problems.
Yeah.
And yeah,
he's very knowledgeable.
Yeah, he's a biochemist. Like, he's a smart guy. And so, you know, he took the time to teach me. So I think, like, over time you sort of accumulate knowledge, and then you put it into practice and you're like, that worked. Yeah,
trial and error, right?
Yeah. And I've been the best test dummy. So obviously, like, I have great client results as well. And you know, that builds up your confidence to be like, all right, cool, that works. And I've got so many protocols and different notes on my computer where it's just like, okay, this is what I would, you know,
This is what I would do for this.
This is what I would do for this. Then you got to, like, obviously match up the synergy with all different markers in someone's blood to make sure everything's accurate. But, you know, every client I get, I can learn something from that client.
Yeah.
Because everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just over time you sort of accumulate things from different courses and different professionals, and your own health. Like I tell you now, from bodybuilding, it's not just gut health and eating disorders and you know, your microbiome and all that sort of stuff. Like, yeah, I've dealt with that. That's great. But then I've also been a bodybuilder and that comes with a lot of risks.
Yep.
Comes with a lot of great things, but you know, you push your body in ways that's not normal and not healthy. So people be like, why does Bel preach so much about internal health and so much health? Like, I don't know if they're saying this, but they might.
Yeah.
But it's like, of course I do. Just because I push my body in slightly unhealthy ways as a figure athlete doesn't mean I shouldn't safeguard it against like all of this like detrimental shit that could happen.
This is what we should finish on, I think, is the bodybuilding space and how even just doing certain practices in that, how you get yourself stage lean coming out of the back of a prep, how that can result in a number of issues internally as well. And what some of the things are you've noticed working with people, but also for yourself internally post-prep.
Post-prep, I think you need to be careful to look after people during prep too.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Post-prep is going to be a reflection of the prep itself.
I love this. Yeah, for sure.
So like I always like to use my two pro girls, Sean and Melinda.
Yeah.
So, and myself, I come out of shows pretty good. I've come out of shows shit. We'll touch on that next. But they've reversed out of their shows really well. And they're both still in decent condition, but they're growing. And they were healthy. They were great. You could ask them, you know, Mel never lost her menstrual cycle. Sean lost hers. But, you know, everyone's different like that as well. It's not always a bodybuilding sort of reason behind that. But I think if you safeguard against it, it depends if the athlete is natural or enhanced as well. But if you safeguard against all of these sort of detrimental things happening by looking after someone's gut health during a prep,
or even before they go, into
liver,
prep.
Well, yes, they need to be healthy beforehand. Yeah. So it's like you want to do a bit of a pre-prep with people. If people can't get into condition and people are looking inflamed and their blood work's a mess, their thyroid health isn't optimal, and they say to me, let's do the show, I'll be like, not yet.
Yeah. Wait for the next one.
Yeah. So you want to get someone, and that's again why I'm not competing until I'm completely, utterly recovered from this injury. Yeah. And my blood work's beautiful. Yeah. I won't enter a prep because I want it to be freaky. Like I was tempted. I was like, I can still do October and do pretty well. But it's like, am I going to be just making it? You know what I mean? Like, am I going to feel good? Am I going to be half dead this entire prep and avoiding injury and avoiding that exercise because it might push me? And, you know, like you need to enter a prep in a really, really healthy, optimal state, and the end result will be amazing. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of people, I almost want to talk about whether someone is enhanced or not, because again, back to internal health as well. And so if someone is an enhanced athlete, so they're taking PEDs and they finish up with that, they end up usually with there's a number of repercussions following this in terms of their internal health, in terms of their hormones. Let's talk about this. What usually happens in terms of blood work with people that are enhanced? We're going to talk hormones first? Both. Let's do both. Hormones and then what you see in blood work. Yeah. So like what goes up must come down. All right. So there's always, if you've got this unreal benefit on your side, right? So obviously you still have to do the work. This is for people that are thinking about PEDs and using them in their prep. I tell you right now, you can't take it and back off from your cardio and your diet and things like that. it's not magic. All right. It'll assist, especially if you want to take this sport really, really far and like surpass your genetic potential, like where that cap is. If you want to keep going, like, cool, introduce it, do it smart. But where was I going with that?
What the result is with their hormones.
Oh, with their hormones. So obviously, like, yes, you've got these great benefits, but it comes at a cost.
Yeah.
So you need to understand the cost before you do it.
Okay.
And you need to understand how to get out of it. So what it does is it shuts down by taking synthetic hormone, like, you know, an androgen. All these girls love Anavar. So let's use that for example. Don't like it, but let's use that for example. So you take that. This is going to shut down your natural production of your sex hormones.
Yep.
So LH and FSH.
Yep.
So you're no longer naturally producing these hormones because just like the pill, right? It works exactly like the pill does. It shuts it down, and because you're using this synthetic thing, the natural hormones don't work, right? So when you come off, you're going to have to go through a period of time where you wait for your natural producing hormones to start regulating again and coming back. And that is going to take some time. People that do like yourself, you're not enhanced, but it still took you a while to get your period back too. So it's not always about enhanced people. Sian as well, natural athlete.
Yeah.
Lost her cycle.
Yeah.
So it's not always PED's problems. But yeah, that is a risk that you're taking. You are shutting down your natural production of these hormones. And I find that the longer you're on, so let's say you're on PEDs, the longer duration that you're on, you can expect a longer duration that it's going to take for your natural hormones to come back.
Yep.
So let's say you're someone that just never wants to come off and you're constantly like
you're addicted to it. You can't.
You're just constantly on these synthetic hormones.
Yeah.
You're just, well, for starters, you're just going to have to take more and more and more and more for it to still be effective. You know, you're going to plateau on this one dose, but you've shut yourself off for a long period of time. When you come off, you better be ready to deal with the consequences of being shut off from natural hormones for a long period of time.
What are some of the other consequences that are a result if you are someone who's kind of taken it a bit too far? Like if you have done it for, like, you're that person that wants to come off it, you know, you want to come off it, but you're like, oh shit, I know that there's going to be consequences as a result. What are some of the consequences
of coming off?
Yeah. Or just in terms of like blood work as well that you've seen.
So your liver's going to be stressed out. Yeah. All right. So you want to safeguard against that. You also want to watch your lipids, so your cholesterol, depending again who. Like I'm going to generalize that we're just talking about young females. Yeah, yeah. So your lipid profile is going to be fine, guys. Yeah. It might be, LDL might be a little bit up, but it should be pretty fine. Okay. All right. Generally speaking, your liver's going to be a bit stressed out. Maybe your white cells might be a bit stressed out, but it's mainly just going to affect your sex hormones. Okay. All right. So it's not that terrible, in my opinion.
In terms of fertility, will you end up with fertility issues later down the track?
Depends how much you hammer it.
Yeah, okay.
And that's a risk, okay? So I know a lot of successful female bodybuilders that have been on for years. Obviously, you have cycles on and off. Yeah. No problem having kids. Okay. But then I also know people that have never touched PEDs and they struggle. Yeah, interesting. So it gets quite demonized, but it's getting demonized by people that are on the contraceptive pill. Yeah. 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 You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying everyone go take drugs. Like I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that educate yourself. Yeah. You know, if you're going to do something and please get correct guidance from someone that is, it's very hard though when you're starting out because you think your coach is amazing and you think your coach just knows everything and you'll just do whatever they say. I was in that position. I was very, very naive and I've, you know, made some mistakes. Yeah. But I wouldn't blame the coach. I would blame myself for being naive. Yeah. You know, so I don't think I ever need to point fingers about my past or, you know, what happened to me because I was naive. You know, you need to do your own research into this sort of stuff and the decision is yours. But to safeguard yourself, with your blood work, other than like your sex hormones, like we were talking about, I'll give you some advice on getting your sex hormones to regulate again after this.
Yeah.
But just take some stuff to support your liver the entire time, and your immune health, and you'll be okay. Just don't hammer it.
Yeah. Okay. I like the way that you finished on this, because I think as well, it's obviously a topic
one more thing. Sorry.
Yeah, go.
Depends what you're taking as well. If you're taking thyroid hormone, different kettle of fish. Mm-hmm. My advice for young competitors is avoid it if you can. Just avoid it. Yeah. Don't take thyroid hormone.
Yeah.
All right. It's a tool that you can use potentially, like if you're at a very high level and that's what you want to do. But I don't advise that people should do that, because getting your sex hormones back is easier than getting your thyroid optimized again.
Yeah, that's a hard one. That is hard.
It can be done, but you're going to cop a rebound.
Yeah.
You know, and you're already going to cop a rebound after, you know, being in comp condition and reversing out. Everyone's already uncomfortable. So don't mess with your thyroid hormone, and definitely don't mess with T3 because you'll burn your muscle off.
Yeah. Just be a natural athlete, you know?
Don't do that. The other stuff, it's okay.
Here I am, like, I want you natural only.
I think there's a lot of stigma around that sort of stuff. And I think that the more that it's like, I was happy to speak to you about this today, because I think that there's so many people out there that are enhanced. Like, more than anyone would actually understand. Yeah. So it's like good to answer questions like this, and, you know, put my advice out there from personal experience and experience as a coach, because obviously I've got some enhanced athletes, not many. Yeah. But yeah, it's good to talk about this stuff.
I think so. And like, to be honest, like this could even be another episode allocated just to this.
Yeah.
I think, because we're going to end up on way too many tangents as per usual. But is there anything in particular on the whole topic that we've spoken, on the whole array of topics that we've spoken about today, gut health, hormonal health, what else? Besides gut health, hormonal health, that's pretty much it though. Is there anything in particular that you want to further just pretty much close up the conversation with? Is there any other tips of advice, words of wisdom that you would like to share on all of this stuff? Something that you wish you knew, or something that people should know?
People should know. Probably just to reiterate to investigate and educate yourself. And don't just listen without asking questions. So that goes for not only like when you get your bloods done and when you talk to coaches or professionals, but asking questions is okay to gain an understanding. The more you actually understand something, the more compliant you will be with following the process. Yeah. You know, so I've got a particular client at the moment, and she has, you know, obviously not going to name names, but she has a huge amount of health complications. Poor girl. Like, she's got hormonal issues. She doesn't actually produce her own cortisol, you know. Then it, you know, leads into, because she's so immunocompromised, she's got gut health issues and always type. There's just so many things, and we're getting through it together, and she's starting to feel alive. Her doctor told her she's just always going to be tired, and that's how it is. Yeah, okay. But she asked me questions, and I like that, because then she understands, and then she's more willing to implement things. Yeah, because I always feel like I'm that person with you. I'll always like send a massive reply back of double checking things. But then you understand. Yeah. And then you're more than happy to implement certain things. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's just when I started to understand certain things that were going on in my body, like I do things religiously now because it makes me feel good. But when you don't understand it, and this is why I'm addicted to learning, because I want to know these things. Yeah. You know, I want to know how they work and how they can improve people. But yeah, like knowledge is power. Once you understand something, you're more compliant. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good take home. Oh, I love this. Thank you so much for coming on
You're
today.
welcome. Thank you for having me.
You'll have to just come on for some more.
I know. It's like, did we even look at those questions?
No, we had a brief and we kind of just went off on our own conversation. But that's what I love. I love that about this. Now, usually I do a little segment of rapid fire, but I am going to have to wrap up this podcast. So we're going to make it short. We're going to make it
don't get out of it.
No, you're not getting out of it. So I'm going to ask you a few things and you just whatever comes to the top of your head.
Okay.
Straight away. Okay. A piece of advice you could give your younger self about the importance of internal health.
Oh God. You're going to suffer later. So the stupid choices that you're making, like not eating, running 10Ks a day, doing like all of those toxic things. Yeah, you're going to cop it later. And I copped it later. So
yeah.
don't do it.
So that's the advice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stupid things you're doing, you'll pay for.
What is the best food swap for reducing inflammation? Oh, that's probably that's a bit too broad. I'm going to swap that.
All right. Okay. Swap.
If you had to pick one to remove, gluten or dairy, what do you think people suffer with more?
Get rid of gluten. That's creating an immunoresponse.
Okay. A food you think is absolutely rubbish and shit on the gut that claims to be healthy.
Oh, yeah. What's that thing that everyone eats? I made a reel about it.
Did you?
Those, I've gone blank.
Fuck, I don't know.
Sauerkraut and all of those like.
Oh, fermented.
There we go.
Is that the word?
Yeah.
Fermented foods.
Fermented foods. Bin.
Okay. Bin it. Is that like kombucha and stuff? Not that, but that as well.
Bin.
Yeah. Don't do it. Favorite hormone balancing meal or snack?
Have some salmon, avocado, and red rice or black rice.
Ooh. Yeah, that sounds good. Best food swap for... No, we just said that.
You really wanted that question.
Quick fix for boosting energy levels naturally.
Walk outside in fresh air and sleep. Yeah.
Have I done these twice? I don't even know. Anyway, favorite way to incorporate fermented foods into your diet? Bin it.
Don't.
Do you have a quick fix for reducing sugar cravings?
Yeah, just get some organic monk fruit extract or stevia and put that in your coffee instead.
Okay.
But make sure it's 100% not from the supermarket.
Okay, there you go. What is something more women need to know about this topic?
Which topic?
Today's topic. This is a disaster.
Tune into the next podcast. I'm sure I'll have more to talk about.
All right, let's just scrap that. What is the worst piece of advice that you have ever received about gut health or your own issues with your own journey of IBS? And
I reckon it was the diuretic. The daily diuretic to get rid of fluid retention in my face instead of healing my gut. Yeah, that was the worst advice.
Okay. And then a final piece of advice for the ladies out there struggling with their own internal issues. I'm making you give lots of final pieces of advice
I'm
today.
not one of those wordy people. That's me who speaks for 2 hours. Final piece of advice for women.
Yeah.
Oh
man, whatever.
Look, if your sex hormones are messed up, there's a reason behind that. Don't go directly for fixing your sex hormones.
Okay.
You know how people are like, oh, just go on the pill. It's like...
Yeah, like as in terms of fertility and stuff.
Yeah,
like there's
something going on internally that's causing all of this hormonal chaos for you.
On that note, if you want to know more about this side of things, the other episode with Carmen that I had on with the reproductive coach is an episode that you should definitely look back to. And then the last thing that I want to say is we always finish this with this podcast is obviously called Evolve to Thrive. So what is something that people can do and implement into their everyday life that will allow them to evolve and thrive?
hang out with Kayla. Was that good?
I like that. Why?
You've had enough advice. Just hang out with Kayla.
But anyway, then let's get rid of this. Let's just wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Welcome,
I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value from this.
So.
This topic is really, I think, really, really important. I think because a lot of people just look for the surface level shit of like, I want to get results, I want to lose weight, blah, blah, blah. And then a lot of the time they're not getting those results because of these underlying issues.
That's it. And that's the direction I want to go with my content. There's so much out there that's the same these days on Instagram. And, you know, people saying, oh, just start with the basics and just nail the basics and you'll get it. Master them. But the basics don't work for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a busy coach.
Yeah.
I work with like people that need further assistance because the basics aren't enough.
They need to, they're different. They're not, obviously, it's not working for them.
No.
Yeah.
So, but thank you for having me.
I love this. Now, for those of you who don't know where you can find Bel, where can they find you? Where can they get all this great content?
BodiesbyBel.com.au or Bel_BodiesbyBel on Instagram.
So if you are having your own issues internally, reach out to her. If you want to do a bodybuilding competition, reach out to her. She's amazing. We love her. And let's be real, I'll probably get her on again.
I hope so.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, babe.
Bye.